Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another video. So this is going to be story time, y'all. Hijrah stories. And it's going to be two things in one. So I actually got my first proposal from a local. I mean, they show interest often actually, but I got my first proposal. It's hard to tell if a woman in the niqab is married or not. Well, from what I was told, the men know when a woman is single. I'm not a man, so I don't know. But I know that generally, when a woman is no longer married, the covering comes off of her. The man and the woman are covering for each other. So when you get a divorce, that covering comes off. So perhaps, the woman becomes, there's something about her that shows that she's not married. But like I said, I'm not a man, so I don't know. I've seen single sisters, and I don't really. You have to ask if they're married or not. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a man, so I wouldn't know. Maybe the men can drop some knowledge in the comment section about that the telltale signs that a woman is single. Or you want to keep it a secret among you all, fine. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, this young Emirati brother, basically was asking me to marry him or whatever, and there was no, like, I didn't know him, he didn't know me, but basically that's how it happened. Of course, with some little simple, very simple details in the middle, but I go into Inspector Gadget mode and start asking him questions, and I found out how old he was. I was like, and he's never been married before. So I said, never been married. You don't have children. And how that came up was because, I mentioned that I have kids, and but I'm not married anymore. I'm divorced. And then I asked about his kids. Okay, well, how about your children? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, I haven't been married yet. I'm like, well, I'm not having any more children. So yeah, that can't happen. And your age, no. You need to marry someone that's more appropriate for you. I think about other people, not just myself. A man I wouldn't want that for my son. He's marrying someone that's older than him. She's been married before. She has children. And you've never been married. Oh, and she's not having any more children. And then you've never been married, and you're going to marry her, and I'm not going to see your grandchildren. That's not going to work. No. And of course, when someone wants to marry you, they're pressing the issue. Well, so a woman has been married before that doesn't, or she's older than me, she doesn't deserve to get married. I'm like, no, that's not the case. But what about your parents? You think your parents will want that for you? You opened up that old door with them? I said, I didn't think about that. I said, well, you need to think about it. Think about that. I'm not battling nobody's family to be with them. I don't think so. That's where cultural awareness comes in there. I know, mashallah, I know the Muslims. No, that's not going to work. So I said, there's plenty of younger women out here. And he probably thought I was younger. A lot of them think I'm young. Younger, rather. I'm not old, but I'm not in my 20s either. So people think that my daughters and I are sisters, but we're not. Of course, they're my daughters, and they are in their late teens. So that's just to give you an idea. I'm not like an old lady, And nor do I carry myself like an old lady. I don't carry myself like a teenager either. But, you know, people think you're younger than what you are. I have a funny story as well as relates to my mother. When she went to Saudi Arabia, she was getting proposals all over the place from the Saudis. My ex-husband, because they were there together teaching in 2 different places though, but they would hang out on the weekends. My ex-husband was in Riyadh and my mother was in one of those small towns, I can't remember the name, but they would hang out with each other on the weekends to go to the mall and things like that. And he used to tell me, like, they are all in her face and she doesn't even realize it. She doesn't see anything. I was like, that's hilarious. I'm like, that's my mother. That's her. That's how it's always been. She gets attention and she's not even realizing that people are fawning over her. It's funny. But yeah, they thought she was young. A Saudi brother, she went to go buy jewelry for my daughters and some gold. And the Saudi brother, he was young, probably about 33, like the guy who tried to come to, talk, who proposed to me. She said he had braces and everything. She was like, he was asking to marry me, and I was like, he said, I'll give you. You want this gold? Here, you can have this gold. You see that, like the gold headsets and the necklaces that they have for marriage. He was like, you want this? I'll give you this. And those sets are expensive. And she was like, you know how old I am? And he was like, how old? She said, I'm 52. He said, La wallah. La wallah. I thought you 29. He said, I don't care. I still want. That's hilarious. She was like, if you don't get out of my face, boy, you want babies and everything. Absolutely not. No. That is so funny. But yeah, that's what my mother was going through when she was in Saudi. And a lot of I'll say brown women from America, they look younger than what they are. They look young for a very long time. So that's a good thing. If you got those young looking genes, that's excellent. And it was another sister here. She's close to, I think she's 60 or close to 60. I think she said she was 60, but she does not look it. And she said she was in the market, I think Carrefour, and this young Emirati brother was like, I don't know if he was trying to flirt with her or what, but she said, I was laughing so hard after I walked away from him. Like, boy, if only you knew how old I was. You don't even have a clue. She said if he knew, he'd probably be so embarrassed. Like, oh no, I was flirting with she's not even young at all. Like, she's a sheikha. Like, really, she's a sheikha. She's not from the Shababat. So yeah. So yeah, that's basically, I had to let him down and say, nah, that's not gonna work. And of course I had to ask other questions. I start out with moral questions and then, religious questions, but we weren't even able to get that far. But I'm gonna tell you one thing, something that's different from marrying back in the West. When you set down rules or you say, listen, I don't accept this, I don't accept that, he kept saying, min haqqik, that's from your right. That's from your right. MashaAllah, that's from your right. That you don't like this or don't like that or don't want this but don't want that. But that still didn't deter him. Like, okay, I said, so you gonna leave that off for marriage? No, I'm sorry. You should leave that off for your Lord, not for me. And then, MashaAllah, I gave him some proof. I gave him a benefit from the ulama. I sent it to him. Even though I let him down, I'm like, but it's inshallah, there's some proof and evidence from the religion where you can go ahead and try to kick that habit by the permission of Allah. And I wish you the best in your life. All right, so of course that interaction was all in Arabic, which leads me to the next thing, my journey with the Arabic language. So if any of you were following my Yemeni series, I think I told you that when I went to Yemen, because he didn't think I was American. They don't ever believe you. Like, how is that possible that you're American and you speak Arabic? And he was like, is it other people in America like you? I said, of course it is. People who want to go study. They went to the lands of the Arab and they went to go study. Of course. I'm not the only one. Y'all just, y'all don't know us. But yeah, we exist. I'm not going to necessarily say in abundance, but it's enough. It's enough. But anyway, what pushed me hard to learn was not being able to communicate because nobody knew English. So you're forced to learn just like basic communication if you want to function. You want to go to the store, you want to get your point across, you want to explain something, you want to express something, you want to learn something, you asking a question, you need information. So I was pushing myself in a short period of time to try and so I can communicate, but I was taking in more information, of course, than I was putting out. But it all settled in my brain, and it started to come out once I left Yemen and went to the United States. And I was practicing my Arabic with the Arab there in Philadelphia. And I just kept going with grammar. Medina book 1 and 2, going over the grammar and things like that, memorizing the points. And then I just was very grammatical. Very, very grammatical. I used to practice a lot of sentence structure, different basic topics, creating sentences and replies. But I was extremely textual. And once I went to Saudi Arabia, we went to Egypt again. I went to Egypt again after Yemen 4 years later. And again, I was doing the same thing. Went to Marquez and Neil. We just doing grammar, sentence structure. I never really mixed with the Egyptians like that to learn their dialect. So that's what we were doing. I was very, very textual. So I kept that up. And when you're in a community of non-Arab speaking people, it's not natural, they're not native, and you are practicing with them, it's all going to be textual, right? Grammatical. So I was fine with that until I went to Saudi. And I started teaching English, and I was mixing with the Saudis and the Egyptians. Again, the Egyptians, I never really spoke Arabic with them, even still, the teachers, because they didn't speak Fusha, they spoke, Egyptian dialect. And the Saudis, they were the easiest to understand. But I realized that when I spoke, of course, I'm grammatical, and they would listen to me, they could respond to me. Even though they were the easiest to understand, some things that they were saying, my brain was grammatically trying to fix it because I couldn't understand it the way they were saying it because it wasn't grammatically correct. So I was like, okay, I need to throw grammar out of my brain because this is not going to work. I need to understand it based off of how they're saying it and not how I learned it in the book. That's not going to work. So that's what I did. And once I noticed that when I was just learning grammar, I was not building listening skills. So when you are teaching English as a second language, you learn as a teacher productive skills and receptive skills. So your receptive skills are listening and reading. Your productive skills are speaking and writing. So if your listening is weak, then your speaking is going to be weak. If your reading is strong, then your writing is going to be strong. So I was strong in writing grammatical sentences from reading, but I didn't have many people to practice with, and I didn't have any natives to speak to that much, here and there. And when I did speak with them, it was, like I said, it was very grammatical in America. But in Saudi, it was the same thing. I was just stuck being the grammar queen. And they used to introduce me, the Saudi used to introduce me to each other and say, this is Ruqayya, هي تتكلم فصحى. هي تتكلم فصحى. And I was like, dang, they keep introducing me as I like speak Fusha because I guess they're warning each other, like, listen, this is how she talks, so don't ask her, why you speaking Fusha. And that happens to me here as well, because even though I can speak some of the Khaliji dialect, it's in there, it's mixed in with my foundation, which is Fusha. Because I was talking to a Emirati sister when the girls were volunteering at the South Emirati Women's Day event, and she was like, how I started off, she was like, why are you speaking Fusha? And I was like, first of all, that's how I learned. That's number one. And second of all, then I started, adding some of their slang in it or whatever. She was like, okay, Habibti, okay. But they know, like, you're not, if you speak grammatically, what in the world, why are you talking like that? So when I used to sit with the Saudis, I was like, y'all speak so natural. I gotta learn how to do that. I want to sound more natural and not so stiff and grammatical, and the way y'all pronounce things is very natural versus when you learn from a book or you learn from another. Well, I never actually sat with any non-native speakers to learn. Actually, I never sat with like American sisters who taught Arabic. I never sat with them. But I would go to other Arab, whether it was online or whatever, and sit in their programs. And of course, they're going to teach you according to a grammatical way. So your pronunciation is going to be very sharp. You're pronouncing every harf, and it's just like I said, it's not natural. And the common people are not going to be patient with you when you're trying to just communicate, especially if they speak English. If they speak English, you can forget it. They're going to be like, just speak English. Khalas. Because we don't have to go through all that. I speak your language, it's fine, just go. But when you don't, but that's what's going to happen when you don't have that natural flow. So that's what you should work on. But anyway, the journey, that was my journey. Going to Saudi, realizing that I'm not natural. It's not natural. I was like, okay, I'm going to just focus on listening. I want to watch everything they got going on. I literally like implanted myself in the Arab world. I made Instagram accounts because I was, of course, doing my business, doing my shoes. So I made Instagram accounts just for the fashion, to promote my shoes, and I was interacting with customers in Arabic from Saudi and from Kuwait. All my the shoemakers that I had from Morocco, I was speaking to them, and I only did business in Arabic so that I can just get used to it, talking to them every day and interacting with them every day, and started watching their shows and, to just try to get more native and reading the comments. And the comments reflected what was in the show that you were watching. Like if it was a interview, or if it was a soap opera or whatever, the commentary is going to be similar to what's in the show that you're watching. People are going to conclude, they're going to add their additions, their opinions, to the material that you just watched, and interactive, and then I would reply and be talking to them and things like that. So that's how you have to immerse yourself into the culture so that you can really master the language. And of course, don't forget reading books. I don't just read Islamic books. It really depends on what you want from the language. What do you want? Do you just want to only read the Quran and understand it? If you only want to read a hadith and understand it, then your vocabulary is going to be limited to religious texts, religious speech. That's what you limit your vocabulary to. And a lot of people are like that. Especially the Tulab, their speech is limited to the Islamic text. And when it comes to talking to the regular everyday people, they be like, I don't speak that stuff and that. Amiyah. No, I don't want to speak. But that's what every country has, their people who speak Amiyah. And I want to give you another point too. I want to make another point. Always know this. I don't care how much grammar you learn. You'll never know the language. Even if the common people are speaking Amiya, they know how to write Fusha. They know how to write correctly. Just like Americans, not all of them will speak in a diction like mainstream speech, like sounding like CNN. However, we all know how to write grammatically. Everyone knows how to write a paragraph, write an essay, if you were educated, of course. Write a paper, make conclusions, make a summary. Everyone knows how to do that. You know certain words that are common in the language, references, poetry. We all have learned those things in school. So likewise, no matter how much Amiya these people talk, whatever country you're in, the common people, they know their language better than you. I don't care how much grammar you learn. They're going to always be better than you. Always. Because it's their language. And I would tell anyone who's learning the English language the same thing. I'll pull out words that's common as a native English speaker, and they'll be like, oh, what's that one? And they speak English very well. Very, very well. Educated. But it's because it's my language. You're not familiar with certain things because you didn't grow up with it. You learned it. You understand what I mean? That comes from, like I said, just being raised. You hear the news. You're just immersed in the culture. I'm American, so you're going to hear things and know references and words and vocabulary that other people are just not going to get naturally. So likewise, that exists with the Arab. They understand when they hear poetry, they understand it. Something that you may not. Right off the bat, you don't know the references. You don't know what it means. You don't know the history behind it. What's this word referring to? You know what I mean? So just know that. So if anybody is like they like to condemn Amiya all the time. That's the regular everyday speech of the people. They're not going to speak like a professor. And even in the Saudi schools, the teachers, the grammar teachers weren't speaking like they weren't teaching in Fusha. They taught the grammar, but in Amiya. So, yeah. I just wanted to tell you all that. It's a journey, and it really depends on what you want from the language. It really does. It depends on what you want from it. You have to ask yourself that. How far do I want to go? What do I want from it? What am I going to do with it? I think what really, really pushed me to keep going, motivation, even being in America, was because my children were raised in Egypt, and their first language is Arabic. So I knew that I needed to be able to communicate with my children one day whenever I saw them again, because they were raised with their father, with Arab women. So I needed to be able to communicate with them. And sure enough, when my son came to me when he was 15, he came back from Egypt, he didn't know a lick of English. I had to translate everything for him. Alhamdulillah, I was able to. And he also had a lot of things that he needed to express, from frustrations and feelings, emotions. He needed to be able to talk to somebody, and alhamdulillah, I was that outlet for him to be able to talk and express himself and complain or whatever he needed to do, which is very important for someone that's in a new culture. They don't know the language, and they may be having things that they need to express, and there's nobody around them that can understand them. That's frustrating. Which is why I think a lot of people here, or that's in the Muslim lands, the Arab Muslim lands, they don't really go that hard with the Arabic language, because they want to be with people who can understand them. If they want to express some frustration or some needs or just relatability, they want to be with people who can understand them. So they'll stick with Westerners more. And because it takes long, it does. To get to the level where you can express your feelings and emotions and get involved in a conversation where you got relatability with the Arab, alhamdulillah, I have relatability with them. A lot of relatability. We talk about all sorts of things. I talk about all sorts of topics with them. But if you, it takes a while. It takes dedication. It takes, really being in the culture to do that. And a lot of people don't have the patience to do it, or they don't have a reason. Like, well, I didn't want to go that far. I just want to understand the religion. Everybody's different. That's why I said you got to ask yourself, what do you want from The language. What do you want from the language? What do you want from? Do you want to enter into the culture? Do you want to integrate? You know, are you trying to get married? I like, I love the Arab. I do. So I'm over here and I mix with them and I feel right at home. My son said the same thing. He feels they his people. Ooh, look at that. Caterpillar just chilling. Yeah, oh, it's a few of them. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, they grew up, and my children grew up between Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and now here in the UAE. So and then even in America, I moved in the area where the Arab were. And we mixed with everybody. Libyans, Syrians, Tunisia, Moroccans, everybody. Yemenis, we had Sudanese neighbors, Yemeni neighbors, Egyptian neighbors, Palestinians. My children were mixing with the Muslims. And Ziad kept in the Saudis when we lived in Ardmore. He was mixing with the Saudis and helping translate for them in school because they were new to the country. Same thing when he moved to another school. Saudi came, they linked right up with Ziad. They was like, oh, this is my man right here, you know. They want relatability. So it depends on what you want. It really does. Depends on you as a person. And that's my little Hijrah story for the night. And for the sisters that want to get married, you express that. Just come here, do what you need to do, be around, and make dua, of course, and wait for the right one to come. Whatever country you want to get married to, and it doesn't, from the citizens from whatever country, they're all here. So whatever your preference is, or if you don't have a preference, you're open to everybody, great. I know what I want specifically. So that's what I'm attracted. I don't really get anything from anybody else. Or maybe they're looking, but I don't pay them any attention. Like, I have tunnel vision. I only see one thing. I don't pay attention to people I'm not interested in. So, all right. I'm going to get off of here, signing off. And inshallah, we'll see you all in the next video. Drop your comments for those who want to talk about Arabic and whatever else I mentioned in this video. And don't forget that Hijrah mandate sacrifice. Ma salama.